Welcome aboard Eros. You are on board a classic yacht. Eros is a massive collection of engineering, teak and steel, ropes and cables and masts that has been around for 80 plus years. She's also an amazing platform for a lot of great things to happen. Sailing races, family trips, charters, crossing oceans, just having a great time. Of course, she needs constant care and attention and love by a dedicated staff who deliver her from place to place. We're inviting you to join us on our adventure. So many boats of this era don't exist anymore. Most of them sunk or abandoned or lost. But Eros is one of the lucky ones. She's been updated and restored and cared for many years by many wonderful people. Eros is 115 feet overall from the stern to the end of the bowsprit. She's 22 feet wide, that's called beam. She draws 13 feet down, so sometimes we have trouble getting into certain bays and marinas because of that. She has a whole bunch of her original teak work. Those are the original hatches we're looking at. Teak decks. One of the most important and significant parts of any sailing boat are her masts. They are a huge part of what she looks like. They're critically important in her sailing. So this is our foremast. Eros's masts are made out of Sitka spruce. That's laminated spruce. These are original masts. These were built in the 1930s. And then we have our main mast over here. It's a lot of work to care for these masts, as you can imagine. Our crew varnishes these ourselves once to twice a year to make sure that they're protected and look beautiful. They are incredible pieces of engineering. The fact they were built so long ago and still function so perfectly, it would be very difficult to replace. Each mast also has booms. This is a staysail boom going along here. Up forward is another staysail boom. And here under the awning and under this cover is the main boom. There are quite a good number of ropes and cables going up. They all have a purpose, of course. Many of them are to hold the masts up so they don't fall over. One of the beautiful features of this boat is this great outdoor dining area. This is the steering position. Have the engine controls and a compass, electronic navigation, the hatch to the engine room. This is our deck house. This was built about 20 years ago, this deck house, as we reconfigured some of the things on the boat. The wood has to be stripped and sanded and varnished regularly. It's a lot of work caring for a boat like this. So entering the deck house, you'll see inside that it has two large, comfortable couches. Here is the ceiling, lots of teak. So now we'll head on down the stairs. We'll start off to the right here. This is a double cabin. Has a large bed on the bottom, which is almost a double, and then a single above. Across the hall is another double cabin. Going further forward is a double bed, nice cabin with a private head. You can see we have electric heads on board. And then you go out of this cabin and across the hall to a cabin with a queen bed. And this cabin has a bathtub. All these cabins have hatches looking up to the skies. We go forward into the saloon. This on the port side. This is a living room, if you will. Large U-shaped couch. Lots of the original paneling in here. And then the other side of the room is the dining table. And probably the most important part of the boat, especially when we have guests on board, is the galley. Food is just so critical. You're serving 8 to 10 charter guests every day. Appetizers, snacks, drinks. So this is where that all happens. Appliances for making and baking. No propane on this boat. Everything is electric. There's a washer and dryer in here, full size. Full-size Samsung fridge. And lots of food supplies. All pretty well organized and categorized. And then forward of the galley is the crew's quarters. Behind those clothes is a bed, another bunk down below, table where they eat. Forward of that is the chain lockers and 2 beds. And then the captain's cabin on the starboard side. The captain has a toilet and a shower in there. And then on this side is another toilet and shower. So a lot of boats this size have a crew's quarters, maybe similar to this size, but don't have 2 showers. We have one of the most dedicated crew that you would ever want. They love her. They can do almost anything on this boat that needs to be done. And so, let's go meet them. So this is Captain Justin Bernhardt, and has been on board with us, how long now? Almost 2 years?
Almost 2 years, yeah. I grew up on a small lake in Ohio, and we always had small boats, 25 horsepower limit, and it was a bit too hilly on the lake to sail. I got into the Coast Guard for 5 years, and that's where I learned navigation and all the vital stuff that you need to become a mariner.
So people might be surprised to hear that you're also the chief engineer on Eros, which means you keep everything running.
I learned a lot of engineering skills just working on old cars with my dad. Motor yachts is where I really got more involved, because there were a lot of times where I was also the chief engineer on a motor yacht with 4,000 horsepower and 2 45 kW generators, and they were mostly new, but even a brand new boat has problems.
Yeah, Justin's very strong in that. We spend time talking on the phone, talking to vendors. A lot of times they can help pinpoint the solution if Justin isn't able to figure it out, but most times you pretty much know what's wrong and you're able to get to it, and that's been great.
At least 50% of the time.
50%. Your first mate is Jared.
I've known Jared for years, before either of us were working on boats. He used to date my sister, believe it or not, and I inherited him. No, but he's very strong also at the engineering side of things. So a lot of the things that I used to have to do, he can now do, so that makes my job easier.
So I'm sitting here with Jared, who is our first mate. What are things you do on board this boat?
A lot of upkeep, maintenance. I help out Justin in the engine room, doing engineering projects, working on the generators, oil changes. It's an old boat, so we're chasing old problems that have existed for a while or new ones that come up.
What got you into boating in the first place?
I kind of just fell into it. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, moved to Colorado, so 2 very landlocked states. But I was in Central America. I found a boat that did charters. So after my trip in South America, I went back to Colorado for a little bit. And while I was there, I was a kayak guide. And after that summer, I headed to Florida and went and got my STCW and worked on a few day sailing boats there, catamarans, a couple wooden schooners that actually Justin worked on. While I was down in Florida, Justin, current captain, called me up and said that he had a position on a boat sailing out of Newport. And then I fell into Eros. Here I am.
And isn't there some common thread between you and Justin's sister?
So I used to date Justin's sister. I met Justin when he was the boys from Ohio. So Hani, his sister, and I went to elementary school and middle school together. So that's the first time I met him, is when Justin, he had Kid Rock hair.
Yeah.
Long and stringy down to his shoulders, would show up with his buddies, and all the girls that, I was pining after would always be like, ooh, the boys from Ohio, the boys from Ohio. So yeah, Justin always ruined that for me. Justin and I became friends after that and stayed in contact. And once he found out that I was moving into the whole sailing world, he decided to take me under his wing and teach me as much as he's willing to teach me. We do take a lot of pride in this boat. It's always so funny when we get people on the boat and say, oh, who does all your varnish, or who does all the painting, who does all this? You're looking at it, the crew.
I am in the saloon of Eros with Amy O'Neill, who is our chief stewardess and has been with us for how long now?
It'll be 3 years in March.
Amy, who's been on 2.5 years, is engaged to our captain, Justin, who she met on the boat.
Yep.
And so Eros is the Greek god of love, and Eros, shot his arrow through Justin and Amy. We couldn't be happier. So we're in Newport right now, and you grew up in Newport, right?
That's right. When I was younger, I was fortunate enough to go to sailing camp in Newport. It wasn't until my later 20s that I decided to take up a career in sailing. I was running an Airbnb out of Newport. Somebody said to me, oh, well, if you do such a good job of this, you could certainly do this on boats. You could be a stewardess. 6 months later, I was working on the 12-meter Heritage. They taught me everything. I didn't even know what a bowline was.
a bowline is a knot, for those of you that don't know what a bowline is, and we'll show you how to tie a bowline in a later episode, I promise.
Yeah, my response pretty much was, who's bowling? I was lucky that the owner at the time, he didn't want people who could only talk about sailing. They wanted somebody who was just well-rounded and personable. From there, I took a delivery to Antigua where I was dock walking shamelessly looking for a job, and I found Eros.
You guys during the day, I mean, you are taking care of making the beds and cleaning the cabins and dealing with towels and laundry and
Yeah, we make sure the rooms are tidied anytime the guests go to shore. Either we're running in to get a different provision for the chef or retidying the rooms.
When was your first charter on Eros after you jumped on in the job?
I was on for about 2 weeks.
Did anything on that charter that you remember go wrong? That like maybe make a big mistake or anything was just horrible?
No, actually. Really?
That's cool. Well, I can tell you that Amy is, I don't know, probably the best chief stewardess you could ever want, and has a great infectious personality. It's not surprising that there were no mistakes made, because you're so into details and so focused on that. While the crew manages many problems, ownership of a classic schooner comes with unexpected surprises and sometimes heartache. So Eros is alongside the dock in Bristol, Rhode Island here at the Harrishop Museum. We have had some bad news. In the last week, we discovered a large delamination of part of the mast, the main mast at the top. While we feel that we might be able to pull off a onboard repair, it wouldn't be as strong as we think it should be. This is the kind of thing that you could lose the mast over. This is a big bummer from a time and cost standpoint. Two things that are precious. So we are going to be pulling the mast out today. So now all the shrouds between the two masts are gone, so that makes it much easier. There's really only one forestay holding the mast up now. Have a fun sail as a sloop now. So we've just put the mast down and we measured it. It's 118.9?
118 and 6.
118 feet, 6 inches in length, and it weighs 7,000 pounds from the crane. I'm with Jens Lang from Baltic Boat Works here in Bristol, and he's going to talk about what's got to happen, what's happening on the top of our mast, and how he's going to make it better than new.
Right. Okay, so we have an old scarf on the mast that has lost its bonding, dives in behind the top cap. All hardware needs to come off, and then most likely the top portion will almost fall off. We'll take the damaged piece off. We got to redesign this with a 4-pin scarf that essentially fits over the original mast like a crown. Interlock the wood to each other so this cannot move anywhere, and then everything can be put back together after we varnished and painted.
Can't wait to see it finished.
Yeah, come back in 2 weeks.
Come join us next time on Eros as we get our repaired mast back in action, compete in a regatta, and enjoy all that Eros and its crew have to offer. Please like and subscribe to our channel so that you will never miss the amazing things that we do and encounter.